Louisville City FC is the greatest story in American soccer. Hell, it might be one of the greatest stories in American sports, period. And you probably haven't even heard about it. Ever since joining the United Soccer League in 2015, LouCity has made all kinds of headlines, from triumphs to tragedy to a little bit of everything in between. On the field, the club has been a dynasty, winning back-to-back USL Cups in 2017 and 18, winning the second while not having a coach for a large part of the season, and making the conference finals every single year of their existence. If franchises got promoted based on merit, LouCity would have a legitimate case for Major League Soccer, but because of the American soccer's closed system, LouCity now actually represents something bigger for the sport. They have set the standard for what lower-level soccer should look like in a country that truly cares about the sport. Prior to 2015, Louisville didn't even have a soccer team, so there was a group that called themselves the Coopers who demanded one. Local business owner and partial owner of the Orlando City Soccer Club, Wayne Estopanel, would help make their dreams a reality. LouCity FC was announced as a USL franchise in 2014 with a logo that would be changed a few times over the years. The USL is currently the second tier in the American soccer pyramid. For reference, here is what a second tier stadium in England looks like. This is what a common USL stadium looked like in 2014. While the stadiums have improved, Louisville City's Lynn Family Stadium stands out in a class of its own. But they didn't always have their own soccer-specific stadium. For their first 5 seasons, LouCity played its games at the Louisville Bats baseball stadium Slugger Field, where a retractable mound would be installed to help flip the baseball field into a soccer pitch. They would be managed by first-time head coach and former Stoke City defender James O'Connor. O'Connor recruited and scouted players from all over the world. He had one full-time assistant in Daniel Bird, and together, on a budget, the two put together a team that would contend for a title in year 1. LouCity then stormed onto the soccer scene. They didn't lose until 8 games into the 2015 season. They made a run in the US Open Cup with what at the time was an upset over Indy 11. That set them up to play the MLS's Chicago Fire in the 4th round. The first-year franchise took the MLS side into extra time, ultimately falling 1-0. Striker Matt Fondy set the USL scoring record. Right back Brian Burke set the assist record. Aiden Quinn got them on SportsCenter's top 10. Their instant success had the city of Louisville embracing the team and the sport. A packed Slugger Field watched the boys in purple win their first playoff game in dramatic fashion in extra time.
And there's a goal that could do it as Matt Fondy, 23
It was as good of a first year as a franchise could have, but they were always chasing the Rochester Rhinos, who would eliminate Louisville on their way to a USL Cup championship. So after an unbelievable start,
once again, we get into why Louisville City FC is the greatest story in American soccer.
Hundreds of people would pay to try out in front of scouts and LouCity coaches. One of them was Kyle Smith from Transylvania University. Smith not only got invited to train with the team, but was eventually signed, started, scored massive goals for the club in his 3 years, is one of the best defensive players in the league, and was eventually signed by an MLS team where he has played since 2018. Also in year 2, a new rival for Louisville City arrived. FC Cincinnati joined the USL for the 2016 season. Games between the two sides drew large crowds in both cities, bringing a rivalry to lower league soccer that America had not seen before. LouCity again found themselves as the second best team in the Eastern Conference, this time chasing the New York Red Bulls 2. Before losing to them in the conference finals. Going into year 3, LouCity added Speedy Williams from New York Red Bulls 2 and dominated the Eastern Conference. This would also be the best year for former Tottenham Hotspur striker Cameron Lancaster. Lancaster broke the USL scoring record, helping lead the club to the top of the table in the Eastern Conference. Trying not to make it 3 straight losses in the Eastern Conference final, Louisville City faced New York Red Bulls 2 for the 2nd straight year. For the first time, Louisville was hosting an Eastern Conference final. And for the 2nd straight year, the game came down to penalties.
Cutler! Off the crossbar and stays out! Ranjetsing! An unbelievable
Then it was
stop.
up to Kentucky and Richie Ballard
And
to put LouCity through to the USL
It's the
final.
hometown kid, Richie Ballard, put Louisville in the USL Cup final. Ballard scores! Louisville wins it in penalties. They've won the Eastern Conference, and they're through to the USL Cup final, which will run through.
So while FCC fans were at home, probably bragging about their attendance, a record crowd was on hand to see LouCity play Swope Park Rangers in the USL Cup final.
Welcome to the 2017 USL Cup final. Sold out Slugger Field in Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville City FC.
Unable to break the deadlock, the game looked like it was destined to go into extra time. But late in the match, Speedy would hook up with Cameron Lancaster.
Williams for Lancaster, he scores! Cameron Lancaster puts
8 long minutes later, and Louisville City had its first USL Cup championship.
Finally, Louisville City 1, Swope Park 0. They are the USL Cup champions.
And now we get to where Louisville City really does become the greatest story in American soccer. Winning the title, of course, made James O'Connor a one-in man. But it wouldn't be until the middle of the 2018 season that Orlando City fired Adrian Heath and called JOC. Just a few weeks after breaking ground on what would become Lynn Family Stadium, James and his only assistant left to be the coaches at Orlando City in the MLS. Louisville City now found themselves defending their title without a coach. This forced the front office to do something I had never seen before in sports. 3 players were then named associate head coaches. It should have been a disaster, but Louisville City, without a manager, would lose just 1 game between June 30th and August 28th, earning 20 points during that span.
Ball out in front, it's in! It's in!
The club did end up hiring John Hackworth for the job.
That means that Louisville City would have basically 5 head coaches in a single season and still finish second in the East behind FC Cincinnati, who would be moving on to MLS next season. So it should have led to the first and only playoff matchup between the rivals, but of course FC Cincy would lose in their second round to New York, giving us a 3rd straight Eastern Conference final between the Red Bulls 2 and LouCity, where the boys in purple absolutely dominated. There had yet to be a repeat champion in USL history. And for Louisville City to do it, they would have to beat Phoenix Rising, led by Didier Drogba. Yes, that Drogba.
Drogba lines this up. He's going for goal. And it's knocked down by Ranjitsingh. It's out for a corner.
One of the 3 coaches, Luke Spencer, was the hero.
The net attempted bicycle kick cleared from the line. Spencer puts it in.
And despite not having a coach for a huge chunk of the season, or you could argue having 5 coaches in one season, Louisville City became the first repeat champion in USL history. Just a couple weeks later, the jet carrying LouCity's founding owner, Wayne Estopanel, and 3 others, crashed in a wooded field near Memphis, Indiana, killing everyone on board. The main supporter section of the new stadium is now named in Wayne's honor. And in the 2018-19 offseason, Louisville lost 3 of their best players to MLS and would have their worst regular season in club history, finishing 4th. So maybe the dynasty was over. But then something incredible began to happen. First, they beat Tampa Bay in the middle of a hurricane by scoring 2 goals in 2 minutes. In the conference semifinals versus number 1 seed Pittsburgh, they came back to force extra time and won it with a Paolo Del Piccolo goal in the final minutes to advance to a 5th straight conference championship, where they would face Indy 11. Indy 11 scored in the 68th minute and were seconds away from ending Louisville City's season, when on the final set piece of the game,
Ball sent in. Headed down. Opano got it. We're tied at 1. Opano finds the back of the net. And the 90.
LouCity scored twice in extra time to advance to a 3rd straight USL title game.
Once again. LouCity FC, Eastern Conference champions.
Next Sunday night, Real Monarchs, LouCity FC.
For the 3rd straight season, Louisville City was hosting a USL Cup final.
To their feet. McCabe, ball in front, in! The earliest goal in the history of the final.
To LouCity fans, it felt like a three-peat was coming. But the Real Monarchs would score 3 unanswered goals, and Louisville City's bid for a three-peat would fall short. But for Louisville City Football Club, there were a lot of big things on the horizon, like the opening of their $65 million soccer-specific stadium. In America, the only place you find stadiums like this is in Major League Soccer. Unfortunately, they opened the stadium in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was actually because of COVID that the USL created divisions to limit travel, and it didn't matter. The totally different format, totally different scheduling. Louisville City still goes to a conference final. Their 6th straight, where they would lose to the Tampa Bay Rowdies. So now that's 6 straight conference championships going into 2021. And it was at the beginning of this season that John Hackworth and the club mutually agreed to part ways, setting up the current head coach, Danny Cruz, for the job. Cruz took LouCity to their 7th straight conference final, a rematch of the previous year. This time, LouCity led Tampa Bay 2-0 with just a few minutes to play. A Tampa Bay goal in the 83rd minute made things interesting.
Shot, and this is going to be the last kick of the game.
LouCity just needed to clear the ball one more time to return to another USL Cup final.
Touch to be had. Aaron Guillen. Lasso. Elevating.
LouCity would fall in extra time, making it the biggest gut punch in club history.
Unbelievable.
Louisville City would of course return to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2022 because that's just what they do. But it's also what the Tampa Bay Rowdies do. It would be the 3rd straight Eastern Conference Final to feature these two clubs, and would again be one to remember.
Skims free. Winder trying to get a piece. Winder! Elijah Winder does it again!
Louisville City got the win to advance to their 4th USL Cup championship. This time, they would go on the road to San Antonio. For the 2nd time, Louisville City would have to settle for runner-up. 2023, Louisville City had its worst season in club history. They finished 5th in the East.
Once again, Louisville City distinguishes themselves as the greatest story in American soccer.
Even in their worst year, they went on a run to make the Eastern Conference Finals for the 9th time in 9 tries.
And this league record run of dominance continues for Louisville City.
I don't think people understand how difficult of a task that is. 9th straight appearance.
An evolving league in several playoff formats. In 9 seasons, LouCity has played in 9 Eastern Conference Championship games. For their 10th season, they have splashed some cash to make a few key signings and are currently sitting atop the table in the East with the most points in the USL overall.
We're on top of the table! Yes, we are!
They are now on track to do something they had never done before: finish atop the USL standings for the regular season.
Jensen Wilson, the E-Town boy, scores for his hometown club.
The playoff format is still single elimination, so anything can happen. But if Louisville City makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals again, that would mean they would go 10 for 10 in Eastern Conference Final appearances. 10 seasons of being one of the final 2 teams remaining in the USL's Eastern Conference. Because of the cyclical nature of sports in America, dynasties like this just don't exist. Find another team who made the semifinals of their league for 9 straight years. With the MLS set up to have parity, Louisville City is the closest thing to a Bayern Munich or Manchester City that America is going to have. There are so many other stories that I just could not fit into this video, like Niall McCabe, who has played all 10 seasons at Louisville City, or James O'Connor returning in a new role for the club.
From the unbelievable support from their fans to their on-the-field success, Louisville City FC is a soccer success story that is unparalleled in the United States.
For Kentucky Sports Radio, I'm Stephen Peak.